Do this. Good. So, welcome back to the Willie Show number 7, I believe. This episode is more going to be just a Q&A, just by myself, mainly talking shit, answering some questions from Instagram and also the live chat on Twitch. The reason I'm doing this by myself, I did have a couple of guys lined up, but just due to some flights and some time, especially with the financial year not lining up, it didn't go that well for us. But that's fine. As always, I'm trying to do at least a Monday-Friday show, it being a Friday today. But recently I've been chucking in some Wednesdays purely just because I really want to pump some episodes out there just to get this going. But so far the support on the podcast has been fantastic and I really appreciate it. There's even a couple of fan Instagram accounts rocking around. So for those of you who don't know, and maybe you're listening to this for the first time, normally I have someone with me here chatting about their experience. Like we've done police officers, fireys, everything. Bit of background on myself. I've been in the Army close on 5 years now. Deployed to Afghanistan, and then when I was on the return, came down with a brain tumour. And that sort of led me into my social media journey and everywhere from there. And I guess all you guys on this, you definitely know this. So I'm just going to have my phone to my side. I'm just going to scroll through some stuff here. So the first question that comes up was, what was the worst bit on tour that you look back and laugh at? I think mainly it's just little stupid shit. Some of the guys losing stuff and whatever that isn't funny at the time, but, no one gets hurt. And when you're back, it's funny. Like, if no one gets injured from it, who cares? It's funny. I remember a mate of mine, the back step of a Bushmaster vehicle is like a great step thing. And he put his rifle down on it, ended up halfway through a drive somewhere, and he felt back because on the back seat, like the driver's seat on the Bushmaster, there's like a gun rack, like holder thing. And the poor bloke reached through, he's like, I think I put my rifle in, reached back and like had a panic, like, oh shit, it's not there. And like you reach into your phone pocket, you reach in your pocket and you don't know your phone's there. It's like that, but on steroids because you've lost your rifle. Anyway, it turned out fine. And someone had picked it up off the back step of the vehicle, but that poor bloke. And I think that happened twice, but it's easy to do. Like, sometimes you lose your phone and overseas you're working with your rifle as much as you use your phone now. Like 24/7, you've got your rifle and you pretty much are a pistol. So it's not the easiest. It is pretty easy to do. I can definitely see how guys do it. So I won't hold that against him, but we still do bloody laugh at it, mainly because it's him. Stuff it. And then another guy asks, before you were diagnosed with cancer, did you ever think about trying out for Special Forces selection? Yeah, of course I did. I think every bloke in the infantry definitely thinks that. It can be almost a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel for some guys, mainly because, it's just that sort of next level up. It's like almost asking a local footy player, if they've ever thought of going into the AFL. Like, of course. And I did do a lot of training to hopefully do it, but my sort of health didn't hold out for me. What's a pity, but that's all right. Things happen. Adversity happens. I'd still love to give it a crack one day if my health ever sort of allowed me to. What do you do in the Army? So I am a rifleman, infantryman. If you don't know what that is, it's not the easiest thing to explain, but you're basically just what people would think of as sort of an all-around soldier, just a foot soldier on the ground. But I guess although that's sort of our job description, I think we have probably the most, probably the role that we can do anything. Like, infantry guys can drive trucks, walk anywhere. The range of shit that can be done is massive, and especially with Australian soldiers comparatively to other nations being so highly trained, that scope of what we can do, I guess, just broaden sort of, what we need to do. And then that makes, the guys we have to recruit have to be, really fucking switched on, because a lot will be asked of them. So I got asked, what are you scared of the most? It's hard. I think, as far as I'm not scared, like nothing bothers me all the time. But I think, as far as situations I wouldn't want to be put into, big surf scares me. Like, when you see those videos of guys like out in Jaws or Pipeline or Tropical or something with like massive surf and then just get like fucking dumped, and it's like, yeah, you're under for like 30 seconds held down and shit. That scares the shit out of me because that's like so out of your control, and the ocean is just so powerful. Like that scares me a lot. And I think another thing that scares me, seeing, some videos and whatever, is like being in like a car crash and being like trapped and I'm like on fire. Like, I think, but that's pretty normal things. Like, I'm not scared of, I'm averagely scared of spiders and snakes, like anyone is. But I wouldn't have a phobia as such, as some people may be petrified of that. What else scares me? Sharks scare me. I think pretty much the ocean in general. Like, I'm not afraid to go in the ocean, but there's shit in the ocean that's ridiculous. Like, I was watching a podcast the other day of Joe Rogan talking about great white sharks, and he was talking to an ultra swimmer, like a professional swimmer, and just how like useless humans are in the water compared to like a shark or anything. Like, even Michael Phelps sucks at swimming compared to any like sea-going animal. Like, we have no chance, and those things are just disgustingly, like a great white shark is just big and fat and just fuck you up. Sydney or Perth, that the question's directed at either the 2nd Commando Unit in Sydney or the SASR in Perth. They're very, very different roles, very different jobs, although on the surface seem very similar. They do significantly different jobs. I know I would, personally, I'd probably prefer to go to Perth, but there are people well suited to go to either of them. So that's a very personal thing. What called you into the army and not the other ADF branches? See, it wasn't only the army that called me. Originally, and some people who watch and listen to a few of these, I've gone on that I've definitely thought of before going, well, not thought of, I actually wanted to go pilots in the Air Force. So you have like 3 jobs down on a sheet of paper when you're recruiting. And I think it was, my first one was like pilots, and then second was commandos, and third, I think it was clearance diving. So I had literally Air Force, Army, Navy. And I was pretty keen for the Air Force. The aptitude and everything was fine. But then the minimum time in, which was like, 14 months or something. 14 years or something long. At the time, I just couldn't fathom that amount of time. But, 5 years down the track, I've sort of thought about like, holy shit, I could potentially be flying like an F-18 right now. Like that'd rock. And then I actually was lucky enough to have an infantry guy interview me at Kapooka, which is rare. Not at Kapooka, sorry, at DFR, Defence Force Recruiting. And he was basically like, bro, look, you're young. Like, I'm not saying don't go commandos, but you probably want to go infantry first, try yourself out, and then go there. So that's what I did, and I actually am glad that I did do that, because I think a lot of people who aren't in the army greatly underestimate how hard that SF shit is. Like, that's ridiculously hard. Doable, like, of course achievable. There's plenty of guys do it. I know heaps of guys do it, but it's very hard, especially if you're coming from civilian like me, straight out of school. Incredibly hard. But don't let that turn you away if that's what you really want to do. So how did you first find out you had cancer and my symptoms? So I basically had a headache that I couldn't get rid of, and I was really struggling with it. Like, I had to take some time off PT at work. I was still going to work full time, but like, I was like, look, I can't do PT this morning. Like, my head's too sore, and then it was just like a Friday, so I didn't do that, thinking I'll go over the weekend. And then I ended up in bed on like a Sunday, just my head just absolutely killing me. And I ended up ringing one of my section commanders, or texting him. I think I texted him and he rang me back. and was like, look, Monday morning, first thing, like this is an order. You're going in to get an MRI. Or go at least see a doctor. Because he had a friend die of a brain aneurysm. He's like, I'm not letting that happen. So if you don't go, I'll get you in trouble. Basically, he was my section commander at the time. And to be honest, probably changed my fucking life. Probably saved my life a bit too. So I went in, ended up sending me away for a CT scan, like a CAT scan, pretty much on the day, I think. And then same day, I got called from the radiologist, whatever they are there, and was basically told, look, I can't tell you anything because I'm not your doctor, but you need to get home, get back to work, see your doctor, and he will have more information for you. And then like that same afternoon, got sent for an MRI, and then that mum's calling me. Sorry about that. Good time, parentals. Anyway. Where was I? Yeah, sent for the MRI, and then got they found like a blotch. Of course, a GP can't. He might think he knows what it is. He may well be right, but they had to send me away to a neurosurgeon, like a specialist, and then he deferred me onto an oncologist. Funnily enough, from the neurosurgeon, the headaches I was having weren't actually caused at all from the tumour. It was actually from just a sort of underlying injury in my shoulders that I'd had, which I did some acupuncture, some physio and whatever, and then that ended up actually sort of moving out that pain. So I get no pain there anymore. I think the pain was from I was doing primarily in Afghan for that 9 months. I was working in body armour a lot of the time, what I guess isn't the best for your posture, and doing a hell of a lot of kettlebell work, and that's pretty hard on your back. And I just sort of had, sort of stretched out my traps a bit. They were overcompensating because I had a weaker chest than my back, and my traps were overcompensating for the muscles, and that was giving me the bloody headaches. So that's just how it went. But I found a tumour, and I'm glad that I did. A lot of people ask me like, "Are you glad? You wish you didn't?" And to be honest, I'm very glad that. So I get asked, are you actually able to beat this thing, beating the cancer, and if they operate, even with the risk? So a cancer, most cancers, and a cancer like mine, I shouldn't say most, but it seems to be this way, are a mutation of cells, either genetic or caused from something like you've smoked or drank yourself to it, or some other carcinogen, and they tend to come back. So something like mine, even if they cut it out, normally within a few years or whenever, that actually, I'm trying to pull my sock up here, that will actually end up coming back, that tumour regrowing where it was. And the problem is it can actually, a lot of time it regrows as a higher grade. Surgery always does prolong your life, or not always, but if they can, a successful surgery most of the time will prolong your life expectancy. So a surgery, yes, it's definitely a good thing. Surgery is the only option at a cure for something like this because it's actually cut out. But as far as doctrine, like not really, I guess. You can live a long time with them, but you just sort of have to see how it goes. People are asking about the sex tape on my Instagram today, so I put in so after I was on the telly for my TV show Taboo, and I'll answer any questions on that too if you like. You can actually watch it on 10 Play if you haven't. After that, I was like, stuff it. I'm going to put in, I'm going to request a verification badge on Instagram. Like, I reckon I've been in the telly and the newspapers and online socials enough to get a badge. Like, fuck, if you can get a badge for having a good ass, surely someone can give me one for doing what I do. And then I waited like a few days, and it came back like from Instagram, like, your request has not been confirmed. Like, you don't meet the required things. And I'm like, thanks. So I'm like, I'll put up a post on Instagram, like, fuck it, now I'm going to release a sex tape. Maybe that'll get me like the credibility to do it. For sure. So also, I've ended up going back to work. Yes, I'm back full time at work. I had a lot of time off in the form of sick leave, just due to not due to the cancer, actually due to the drugs, due to the chemotherapy drug. was making me bloody crook as a dog. But yeah, I'm back 5 days a week, full time at the moment. I'm still on a lot of restrictions just due to, some sort of overhanging shit from the drugs. It takes a long time to get better from this, from those drugs at least. There is, sometimes some permanent damage. I'm not really sure yet, so we'll have to see how I get back to health and fitness and everything. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing. So if you suddenly found out you had cancer, would you stay in the army, go travelling, or do shoeies? Well, I did suddenly find out that I had cancer, and I did stay in the army because the medical system in the army is probably the best medical system in the world. And I have done a little bit of travelling, but I'm waiting. I'm definitely waiting for myself to feel a bit better before I go travelling again. I love travelling. Anyone who follows me, I've done a shitload of travelling, mainly through Europe. Only a week in America. That was very recent. My sort of very, very, very last minute trip to America a few weeks back. That was epic actually though. I had a fantastic time. I got invited over for a conference there by a good mate of mine. Went to the conference and it was a bit of more of a holiday trip for me, work trip for him, holiday trip for me. So what about sports? Growing up or in the army, I've never played sport in the army, just due to when I was mainly, we have sportos now, but during my earlier years in the army, due to the battalion going online to deploy, we tend to cut back on sports just so you wouldn't get injured. It's not worth having someone injured and not being operational to be able to deploy and stuff hurting yourself at footy stuffing around and then not be able to deploy or something. It's a waste of money for not only yourself but for the army, I guess, as well. So Johnny, how supportive was the army when you discovered that you had cancer? The army was incredibly supportive. The biggest support, I guess, was actually from, what I'd call the Green, which, with my commanders and stuff, was absolutely incredible. It was sort of like rank slides off, what's going on, Willie? You all right? Wanting to know, but not only support for me, but it was fantastic support for my family too, and everything from people sending flowers home to my mum to just sort of stop me and shake my hand and ask how I'm going, and if I needed, because there was a period of time when I couldn't drive. So yeah, pretty much just anything I needed at those initial few months, they really helped me out with. And honestly, I don't know how I would have got through this without the army there to support me. So I really, there's a few people, I won't name them, but that really got me through what I needed to at the time. It wasn't an easy time. Mentally, physically, you sort of start seeing your body go to shit. Your mind, you're sort of all over the place at the time. It's an incredibly hard thing to go through, something like that. And I think, I still struggle with it a bit, not much anymore. I wouldn't say I've got to learn to live with it, but, it's not the easiest thing ever. That being said, you can definitely work through almost anything in your life, I guess. And that's sort of what these podcasts are aimed at, is helping people move through things. I always say, that all that "Are you okay" day and stuff, that's great, but it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to get better too. Although it's okay not to be all right, it's not all right to stay there. You owe it to yourself, your friends, your family, everyone else, to get better, to do what you need to do to get better. End of the day, your family can do anything, psychiatrists can do anything, but at the end of the day, if you aren't committed to getting yourself better, it's never gonna work for you. And as well, as a lot of people let themselves slide so far that something becomes serious when they could have quashed at the beginning. So, if you start feeling yourself slipping or something's going wrong, try and sort it out as soon as you can. Don't let it grow into something so bad that, it's going to end up with you on the end of a friggin' rope. Once you feel something going, seek professional help or look at yourself, really to have a good look at your life and be like, well, what's wrong? What do I actually need to change here? What's not working? And that can be as little as you need to get fitter, or you need to get healthier, or, and something's wrong, relationship-wise, family-wise. And to be honest, like, the majority of us live in Australia and we have it incredibly lucky. No one's knocking on our doors to kill us. But the funny thing is, Australia has one of, if not the highest suicide rate in the world, and it's one of the luckiest countries. It's funny because, mental health and sort of how easy your life is to live actually has a direct correlation of bad. So say what they call the Blitz in London, which was when the Germans were bombing London, had the lowest suicide rate in England's history when they were getting bombed, because people had a sense of community. People were together, people did stuff together. Now we live, you can go days at work and whatever without seeing and talking to anyone, and naturally for humans that's very, very unhealthy for us. It's nice to sleep in your own room, but if you actually look at primitive humans, we normally sleep, like we used to sleep like 10 people too. We a tribe, like we would still sleep together and everything. It's funny that you look at the mental health in some place around the world. Look at Israel is a good example of it, especially in the military. Israel has had some of the hardest operations and everything in the military ever, yet has one of the lowest, it's less than 1% PTSD rate, because everyone in the community is served. Everyone knows what it's like. And they tend to be I think they're the only sort of first world country that's still very, very communally based. People have a strong sense of community and everything, and that's how it goes. But then I think as well, people talk about a lot of issues with the army and sort of not looking after people, and I've actually got a new take on it, that no, the resources to look after people are there, but it's taken up by a bunch of idiots who don't actually require that resource. I see so many times you're very suspect of people making claims, taking up money and resource that, I'm not saying where they're right or wrong, it's not my place to, but it's something we need to crack down on. Long-term PTSD, what, goes for the number of years to the rest of your life, is actually incredibly rare if you talk to a psychologist, like incredibly rare. Short-term PTSD is incredibly common, actually more common in sort of rear soldiers. It's more common in rear soldiers than frontline soldiers. What is really funny, where long-term PTSD is more common in frontline guys. Anyway, short-term PTSD doesn't mean you've got it straight afterwards, though, but it's reliving an event, and it's actually a natural thing from your body does, is sort of like a fright and flight. So when people say they have bad dreams or whatever, what your body's actually doing is reliving that scenario almost to get you ready for, if that happens again, what to do. So a lot of the times you'll talk to guys, and you can see this on my most recent podcast, the one before this, with Jerry Lee, he was running through these different scenarios of what happened to him, being going in a building or going in a garage as a police officer, and there was a criminal in there with what he suspected was a knife and getting a fight. Those dreams relive different scenarios with different endings. And what that's doing is giving your body, like, if this happens again, you've sort of played through what can do better. So yeah, I definitely think that we need to sort of crack down on what is legit and what's not. I know there are some that are real and they should get every bit of support ever, but just because it's easier than working, getting a payout or something isn't right. No one owes you anything unless they've taken it from you, 100%. So what are some tips for a person looking to join? I'm going to go with joining the army and some things to look out for. My biggest tips is, depending, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say still in school. My biggest tips would actually be to finish school. I don't care about the academic side. For me, is more the social aspect of school. And schooling still, I'm so glad that I did that I did do year 12, it was one of the best years of my life. You and all your friends and everything, you'll never have that time again. And it's only a year or two if you're in, year 10, 11, 12. It's not that long. And those social skills you build, experiences you have, you'll never get back. Also, once you get into like the army or any adult world, you realise that you're awfully adult and you miss school. You never pay taxes, everything like that. Oh, let me change this. Yeah, sorry, I knew that was going to die at some point. Just had to swap cameras. So finishing school, I think, is an incredibly important thing. A lot due to, the social aspect of it and everything of that. And that will actually help you, like it or not. Oh, let me clean this. Yeah, that actually will help you a lot in a job like the army. It'll help you an incredible amount, be able to have those social skills, those experiences that you get at school, and you don't really get them anywhere else. So school is incredible for that. So just saying, get fit. Although you have those minimum requirements for the army, the fitter you are, the easier it is, for sure. And the sort of the easier it is to fit in, people tend to like you a bit more if you're fitter. You're never going to be dragging the team behind, whatever. So be fit, stay in school, just don't be a dick. That's easy to say, but just don't go jack. Don't be lazy on people. If there's a work party and it's not really required that you're there, or no one's going to notice if you're not there, go anyway, or else you just get a bad name for yourself. Plenty of people like that, and be realistic about it. Be open to people. Be nice. Help out where you can. That's probably my biggest things for the army. For sure. Do you like shooting guns for fun? Well, I wouldn't join the infantry as a rifleman if I didn't, have an interest in shooting guns. I'm not a big hunter. I'm not a fan of hunting, really. Very personally, not a fan of hunting, especially big game. I think it's a fucking joke, to be honest. I 100% get hunting for eating that. I'm a big supporter of that. I think humans do need to stay the alpha predator, 100%. But at no point has anyone ever needed to shoot a friggin' giraffe. That's just stupid. So people are going, why you have to see my ugly mug so much? That's right. And people are saying my mustache is looking awful fluffy tonight. It is, because I'm not sure if you were here in the start, but I mentioned that I actually washed out the mustache. Gave it a bit of a clean. It was getting a bit bad on me. So my next charity event will be in October. That will be... I'm attending a charity event so this Sunday at... what's it called? Just across from the Adelaide Oval. There's a charity event that I will be attending for a good mate of mine who was just on the podcast on Wednesday. Jerry Lee, he's doing a men's health charity event. So I'm going to that to support. But as far as my own charity event... I will be attending, planning, and then, of course, attending my tyre flips again starting in October, which is the 2 kilometre tyre flip, or team tyre flips. So that'll be in every capital city in Australia. And there'll be some other ones floating around too, that everyone's welcome to attend, donate and attend. That's 100% for brain cancer. And that should be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. Last year we raised nearly $60,000 directly to brain cancer research, and this one will be the same again. So I'm really looking forward to that, to get that working as well as we can. I'd love you guys all to attend, to donate, help out. There'll be beers to every single one. I'm going to try and be at every one, if you guys want me there anyway. What my take on surgery? A doctor giving it the go ahead on me. Well, it's not me giving it the go ahead. It's more finding a surgeon who's comfortable to do it. But you've got to remember too, I need to weigh up the options of surgery. So a lot of the chance now, if I have surgery, I probably will be paralysed on one side, or at least have a small to large deficit on my right hand side, as the tumour sits on my motor strip on my left. So my left frontal lobe, it's about, if you can see where I'm pointing on the camera, about here, where the tumour is. Left frontal lobe sits on the motor strip, which controls my right arm and hand mainly, but then also my right leg. And I've done what they call a functional MRI, which shows which part of your brain does what, because your brain can move things around. Your brain can move certain functions around. Interesting enough, and the funny thing is, neurosurgeons actually don't know what happens. No one does. They just know your body does it, especially in younger kids. It's called neuroplasticity. Anyway, that's where the tumour sits. So at the moment, I'm waiting on it. I actually see Dr. Charlie Teo on the 16th of July, and he will give me more on this. But at the moment, my local neurosurgeons aren't comfortable to operate. And last time I saw Charlie, and this was 6 months before finishing chemo. This was 7 months ago. He would have operated, but I wasn't comfortable with the amount of deficit he could have left me with. So we'll just have to see. So Johnny asks, hey man, you mentioned in your podcast with Dan Graham, which was a great podcast. Dan's a firefighter. I really enjoyed it. Great guy. I've still got some bottles of wine from him. I was a little bit pissy by the end of that one. I was smashing the wine a bit. Anyway, he goes, that's been legislated that veterans must be interviewed for jobs they apply for. Have you got a link or reference to this? I've got a few mates that are struggling to land a decent job. Johnny, no, I not on me. I don't have a link. But I remember, 18 months, 24 months ago, it was all over the news that a new legislation had been passed, that all veterans that qualify for the job, like you can't just put into a CEO if you don't actually meet any of the prerequisites, but a veteran that meets the prerequisites for any position by federal law has to actually have an interview for that position. Due to some of the great things about veterans, actually very hard to put in a resume. Like, you're going to arrive on time, you're going to be shaved, or shave, look after yourself, you dress really well. Things like that are very hard to actually put into a resume if they've never worked with Defence Purse before. We actually talk a bit more on it with my interview with Mike, Royal Marine Commando Mike. I think that was number 4 or 5 podcast. So actually, he's an employment specialist, Johnny. So he goes over, his whole business, everything he does is to do with employment of veterans. So he's the guy to ask better about it. But yeah, if you Google some stuff about veterans and being interviewed, you should, I say this, you should be able to find it because it was all over the news. So I hope that helps you out. And I hope your mates go all right with finding a decent job. On Me Careers, who Mike's from, he's really good. His whole thing, although it is a business, yes, it is a business, but the two things On Me Careers does is, firstly, it actually trains employers on what veterans can give you. For the thing I was mentioning before, like your dress and bearing and everything. So it's more giving them the knowledge, but it's also helping veterans find not only employment, but what you're referring to as a decent job, but what I would call meaningful employment. So yeah, for sure, the meaningful employment's a fantastic thing, and I really hope they do well. And yeah, we can get a Thai food going in Butterworth, Johnny. No worries at all. So I know you're not the bucket list type of guy, but there's anything you'd like to get done before you get to a point where you can't. I suck at wording. Yeah, you're not the best at it. Nah, that's all right. I suck at wording too. If anyone's ever read any of my fucking Instagram posts, you know that I suck at wording. Anything I'd like to get done. Look, of course I always have goals that I want to do. Fuck, maybe I want to drive a Lamborghini. Actually, I wouldn't mind driving a Lambo. But no, just working away at my own stuff, mate. I'd like to, donate a lot more money to, my causes, the research for brain cancer, for sure, for that sort of legacy thing I talked about on Taboo more, on that TV show. So that's definitely a big thing for me. And as far as I'd like to travel a lot. I'd like to be in a place more where I can, almost have a sort of an income that allows me to travel. So hopefully I can take this podcast. That's why there's a support podcast link. That's more because I want to interview. I know a lot of guys like Rudy Rise and all those guys in America and in Europe and everything, but getting there is a hard thing. And I think those stories are very, very important to tell. So I'd love to travel more and interview a lot more people to sort of bring them a little bit closer to you guys. Are you going to be on Taboo again? No, I was only on the first episode of Taboo. If you haven't watched Taboo, go and watch it on 10 Play. Really enjoyed it. I didn't get paid or anything for it. It was just a volunteered thing, I guess, for Channel 10. But it was a fantastic opportunity. I had a fantastic time, and I got really good reception actually from it from a lot of people. I had a lot of messages, really congratulating me for it, and giving me some fantastic feedback. So thanks a lot for that. Have you met him, Erdy? But yeah, Rudy Rise is a fantastic bloke. He's fucking shredded. I joked that bloke doesn't own a shirt, and I don't think he does. Standing next to him, I was like, Jesus, I look bloody terrible. Yeah, if there's any last minute burning questions, send them through. Otherwise, I might look at kicking off unless you've got some more stuff. It's been a bit of a short one, I guess. Hasn't been that many questions. Easy, righto. So if that's the end of your questions, I guess thank you very much for watching the podcast. I think this is number 7. I think it's number 7. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate you guys coming on, having a chat with me, and doing the rest. So yeah, thanks for that. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go. Yeah, Johnny, I'm definitely going to go for a beer tonight as it's early. Sometimes these podcasts go for 4 hours. So if you'd like to support this podcast moving forward, there is a link below on the Twitch that just says like support the Willie Show or something. So feel free to do that. Either way, this will be uploaded, Brock, tomorrow on YouTube. So all my other previous podcasts are on YouTube. If you just search the Willie Show or Willie Beating Cancer, you'll find them all on YouTube. Just have a bit of a scroll. Otherwise, message me. I can just send you the link. And as well, they're on Spotify if you search The Willie Show or just search a specific title. But again, if you're struggling, just let me know. Yeah, so if you'd like to support the show, go for it. But otherwise, I really do appreciate you guys coming on. I love having a chat to you guys. I hope that I sort of used my different camera tonight, so I hope that's gone well. So cheers, I really appreciate it. Look after yourselves. Have a great weekend. Next week, a couple of big shows coming up. As well with the SA Brothers fellas, so that should be fantastic. I've got some very exciting guests coming that I'm really, really keen to do, and hopefully doing some more travelling with this show. And we will strive to do a Q&A every maybe 10 episodes or so, because I'm trying to smash 3 a week, but we'll see. So look after yourselves. Need anything, let me know. I'm a bit of a shit reply on Instagram because I've just been bloody flat out, but thank you very much. Cheers, have a great night.